What's up guys, and welcome back to Software Knowledge Solutions, and today we're talking about Call of Duty Warzone Season 3 and its latest updates. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there's a few new updates that came out with this game while Season 3 was launched, and there's about 13 days of Season 3 left. Now, I'm going to show you the best settings you can use right now at this very moment with all the latest updates for Verdansk or whatever you are playing, whatever game mode you are playing, the best settings you can use for your machine. Now, it doesn't matter if you're running a low-end machine, medium-end machine to a high-end machine. It does not matter. Just follow my guidelines from the beginning to the end of my video, and I'm going to make it short, sweet, and simple. All right, let's jump straight into it. Right, gentlemen, as you can see, I'm on my desktop right now, and the first thing I highly recommend you go ahead and do is make sure that you're on the latest graphics card drivers. Now, this is for AMD users and NVIDIA users out there. Please be on the latest graphics card drivers. This was released a few days ago, and I highly recommend that you go ahead and install the latest graphics card drivers to keep your drivers up to date for the gameplay to be smoother in general. Now, yes, I do know that there would be some people out there that's running older drivers where those drivers are way better than the newer driver, but I highly do suggest you go ahead and download the latest graphics card drivers right now at this very moment. If you haven't done that already, please go ahead and install this driver over here. If you're an NVIDIA user like me, go and download 576.40. It is the latest graphics card driver out right now, and I highly recommend installing it for your machine. After doing this, please go ahead and just close out of this and then go to your start button over here, go to settings, and then come over here to Windows Update. So your Windows Update, your update in security, please go ahead and come inside here. And as you can see, I have base systems. Now, these base systems are quite important for your machine, very important for your machine, and I highly recommend you go ahead and schedule a restart, which I'm going to be doing right now. Right, please go ahead and do that. Then you can also click on check for updates if you haven't done it already. Please go ahead and do that. It's very important for your machine to stay up to date, your graphics card to stay up to date, and everything to stay up to date on your machine even before you inside the game to play it. Now, anything to do with your computer itself, like Windows and stuff like that, is going to compare on how your game's going to perform inside the game. Now, you can just go out of this. You can come back here, and you come to settings, and you come inside here. Now, I highly recommend you come to gaming over here and make sure that you have this over here enabled. Game mode. Turn this on. Please turn this on. Leave it on. It is the best for the latest updates right now at this very moment. Leave it on. Go to graphics settings over here, and you're going to come inside here. Then please go ahead and add your Call of Duty launcher or your Call of Duty EXE. It doesn't matter which one you put here. You can actually put both here if you want to by just clicking the browse button and then go to where your Call of Duty is installed. Now, as you can see, this is my Call of Duty. It's the new update. You can go to the launcher over here, or you can go to cod.exe, which is in this folder over here. Come here and then add cod.exe and go to options and select your current graphics card that you're currently running. Please go ahead and do so and say save. Please have this on at this very moment as well. Hardware accelerated GPU scheduling, have it turned on. Make sure you have this turned on and you should be good to go. Close out of this, and then you can go back here to settings once more, and there's one more thing that I highly recommend you go ahead and do. Come inside here, come to privacy, scroll all the way down, go to background apps, and then turn your background apps from on to off. Please go ahead and have all of these things off and running in the background using resources like your RAM, your CPU, your VRAM, basically your drive. It uses everything on your computer in general while these things are running in the background, like resources on your computer. Please turn it off. If you're a Windows 10 user, you can just go from on to off. If you're a Windows 11 user, please just go ahead and Google how to disable it if you don't know how to do it. If you do, just go ahead and disable all background apps. Now, that includes background apps like this, for instance. This is Wallpaper Engine, and I'm currently running it. It uses VRAM usage, it uses my RAM, and it also uses my CPU usage. Now, all you can do is, if you're running something like this, you just can go ahead over here, come to your Wallpaper Engine, and quit out of it, and close out of it completely, so you have a still image like this. Please, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and do this. It's very, very important. Then on top of it, ladies and gentlemen, you might have a lot of apps open on your computer. I know you might have, like, let's just make an example, like something like this. If you have like an app that's running in the background for your mouse or your keyboard or Razer, whatever brands you are running right now, you might have programs open. Like I have this over here, my IQ software for my 360mm RAD. I don't even launch it anymore because it uses 3 to 4% usage on my CPU for no reason, and I'm actually losing performance by running this program. But at default, once I boot my machine, this goes to its defaults, and it pretty much does what it needs to do, and that's just how I set it. So every time I restart my computer or put it on, it goes to its defaults and it stays on its defaults without running the program. So in general, ladies and gentlemen, please just go ahead and turn off all background apps and all the bullshit on your computer. Make sure that you turn it off. Please go ahead and do so. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the next step I highly recommend you go ahead and do is just right click on your desktop and go to NVIDIA control panel and open up the NVIDIA control panel like this. Please go ahead and do this if you're an NVIDIA user like me. Go to adjust image settings with preview and come inside here. Go to use the advanced 3D image settings and click on take me there. It's basically going to take you to manage 3D settings like this. Now, I'm not going to explain each and everything inside here. It's going to make the video way too long. If you want to know what these things do, just go watch my previous videos. I explain them in detail. All you're going to need to do is copy my settings inside here exactly as is, and you should be good to go for the latest updates. And this should make your game run way smoother overall if you are an NVIDIA user like me. Right, then you're going to go to configs around the physics. Your physics are handled literally through your graphics card, so go ahead and select your graphics card, not auto select, not CPU, your graphics card, and say apply. Right, from here you're going to come to adjust desktop color settings and come inside here. Now, as you can see, I have 3 monitors over here, and this is my main screen. Just make sure you're on your main screen if you have multiple screens. If you have one screen, you'll just have one over here. Now, you're going to have this at 50%, 65, 1.00 on the gamma, and then your digital vibrance. And then your digital vibrance plays the most important role in the game on how it looks. Now, this won't impact performance at all. It will not increase FPS or decrease FPS. It will just make your game look way better in digital vibrance of how the game looks. Now, if you do this and you're watching my video, right? If you pull this all the way to 0, you'll see your screen goes black and white. If you pull this all the way to 50%, its defaults, this is Windows' default settings, is 50%. 50% is Windows' default digital vibrance. As you can see at the bottom now, you'll see your screen looks washed out. I highly recommend making your Windows in general pop. Everything will pop. Just bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this won't just make your Call of Duty look better. It will do this for everything on your current screen that you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to apply this for every single thing you're going to be doing on your screen. So this is not just for Call of Duty, it's for every single game you are playing. If you're watching YouTube videos, if you're watching movies, whatever you're doing on your computer in general, this will apply for everything. So I highly suggest you bump this up to whatever preference you want. You can say 75, 65, you can go to 85, 80. In general, my personal preference has always been 95 like this. You can actually use your keyboard if you want to be exact. Can use your keyboard. I have mine at 95. This is how I run my games, so I run my screen, and I highly recommend you go ahead and change this to your own personal preference and have your digital vibrance at your own personal preference. Please go ahead and do this. It's a very important step, ladies and gentlemen, for your game to pop and look way better. Ladies and gentlemen, if you updated your graphics card drivers and you made changes on your computer like I just did right now, it might ask you this after doing everything I just did. Just go over here where it says run in safe mode and click no and launch your game. Alright, let's jump straight into the settings. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we are in the game right now, and as you can see at the top left corner, it is installing my shaders, and it's currently installing it all the way to 100%. Let this install finish. Please let it install finish. If you just installed the latest graphics card drivers, or whatever the case might be, you changed a couple of things on your PC, you will have that come up on your screen, and let it finish. Ladies and gentlemen, it needs to finish before you come and select anything inside here, before you start changing settings or anything like that. Let the shaders finish. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we are in the display tab right now, and as you can see at the bottom over here, it says other apps. It says 0.7. I'm using 700 megabytes of my VRAM right now, not 1 gig, not 2 gig, not 3 gig. That's because I went to go and show you how to turn background apps off, and all of those things that I was talking about, like background things in general, like programs and stuff like that. If they aren't running, your game's going to be running smoother. Trust me, overall, turn your background apps off. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the best thing you can do over here in the display mode is have your game in full screen exclusive. It's the best one you can choose and the best one that you can run at this very moment. Yes, I know there's a lot of people that get away with full screen borderless, and this is also how they run their game, but I do highly recommend running your game in full screen exclusive, and you should be good to go. This is the perfect setting, the perfect option to choose over all. Right, then we get this over here, which is the aspect ratio. I highly recommend you run your game either at automatic if you don't know what type of screen you're running. If you do know what type of screen you're running, you'll know what to choose inside here, but the best one would be 16:9 for a competitive gameplay experience. Display gamma, I highly recommend you go ahead and change this from 2.2 to 2.4, or if you just have a normal monitor, please go ahead and run it at 2.2. If you have a gaming display or something like that, like a gaming monitor, I highly recommend running your game at 2.4. It actually gives you a little bit more digital vibrance. Gamma/brightness, ladies and gentlemen, I highly recommend running your game either at 55 to about 60. Do not over push it because then the game looks washed out. Verdansk is a very bright map. please don't over push the brightness and the gamma. The game will look washed out. 55 to about 60 to 65 is the max I would go to. Don't overdo it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, knowing the machine that you are running depends on the settings you're going to change inside here, especially when it comes to NVIDIA reflex low latency. Now, on plus boost and on, do not put this off. I repeat, do not put this off. It's just going to give you problems down the line of you playing this game. Do not turn it off. Leave it either on plus boost. But I'll tell you what to put it on depending on the machine that you're running. Okay, if you are on CPU bound cases, meaning that you have a really good graphics card, but you have a lower generation CPU, then go with on plus boost, which will be most case scenarios out there. Most people go ahead and buy better graphics cards than what they have of CPUs. But if you have the equivalent CPU of your graphics card, it's the same kind of generation or gen in general, or they are running neck and neck next to each other, then on is a very good thing to use. But on is actually if you are GPU bound. Now, that's what these two are. This is if you're CPU bound and your CPU ain't that great, and this is if you're GPU bound and your GPU ain't that great. But if you have a machine that's running really well together, CPU and GPU wise, I highly recommend just selecting on overall. You should be good to go over here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is also something very, very important. If you come inside here and your game has already selected something for you, like on or on plus boost, leave it there, don't change it. It might select something really good for your machine, and then you're going to start changing something inside here, and then your game will run like absolute dog shit. Please don't do that. Just rather leave it at its defaults. If it gives you something defaulted for your specific machine, go ahead and do it. If you don't see any improvement and you want to see improvements, then start changing them and see what they do for your machine. Right, Eco Mode preset, you can add this as a custom. VSync gameplay, you'll only turn this on to 100% if you are getting screen tearing like that, or you want to cap your FPS to the refresh rate and the hertz of your monitor. So if you have a 60 hertz, 120 hertz, 144, all the way to a 500 hertz screen, you get my point. You will then cap it to 100 and it will do the hertz of your screen. So the FPS will be capped to the hertz of your screen. So if you have a 144 hertz screen, you'll do 144 FPS max in game. In gameplay, as it shows here, gameplay. Menus you don't really need to do, so I highly recommend just turning it off. Custom frame rate limit. Custom frame rate limit, ladies and gentlemen, I do use mine at unlimited. This is how I run my game, but I know a lot of people will actually rather go to custom over here, come inside here, and then cap their FPS to the refresh rate of something like, for instance, what they're doing at best with their game. So let's say they're doing, let's make an example, you are doing about 140, let's say 100, you're doing 140 FPS all over the map, wherever you are. I highly recommend dropping a 20 FPS down. So that would be 120 max over here, if you are achieving that. Now, let's say you are achieving 200 max as FPS, then obviously that's going to be 180 over here. Now, this is gameplay. Like I said, in your game while you are playing it, go ahead and do that. Then your menu custom frame rate limit, then just go ahead and put this to your screen's refresh rate. So if it's a 120 hertz, put it at 120. If it's a 144 hertz, put it at 144. Or you can just max this out if you want to. You should be good to go. And you should be good to go with this over here, maxing it out as well. Most people will go ahead and rather put it at 30 because this is out of focus mode. Leave it at 30 like this. Now, if you want the best FPS overall and see the max FPS that you can push, go ahead and put it unlimited and you should be good to go. I run my game like this. I run it perfectly fine like this. Then you get reduced menu render resolution, have this at native, pause game rendering off, reduce quality when inactive. Obviously go ahead and select this. If you are currently in the game and you don't quit the game and you play it a lot, go ahead and select your one that you would like to select over here. It's your own personal preference. Focus mode 0 and apply these settings and you should be good to go. Alright, gentlemen, as you can see, we're in the quality tab right now, and as you can see, I have recently recommended minimum, basic, balance, ultra, extreme, and custom. Now, if you haven't customized any settings inside you yourself, like individually, you won't have custom, you won't have reset recommended, you have minimum, basic, balance, ultra, and extreme. I can run my game on extreme perfectly fine, and I won't have any hiccups. My game will run perfectly fine on extreme. I won't do this. The reason why I won't do this is because you want competitive settings, even if you have a high-end machine. To, let's say, low-end, medium to high-end machine, you want competitive settings and the best settings inside this game. So obviously you're going to be turning things on and turning things off inside here to make the gameplay much smoother overall for yourself. All right, now render resolution, always have this at 100 to 200 depending on the rig that you're running. If you're running a lower end machine to a medium end machine, 100 is perfectly fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and change my settings inside my NVIDIA control panel in my DSR factors to have my game run at 1080p instead of 4K at 100% scale over here. Now when I push it to 200, then it does 4K. Okay, now I highly do recommend, please go ahead and put it at 100 like this. As you can see, mine will now do 1080p. Now if you have a better screen and you didn't do any DSR factors, let's say you just have your normal screen, you didn't change anything in the DSR factors in the NVIDIA control panel or with your AMD graphics card or anything like that, and you have a 1080p screen to a 1440p all the way to a 4K screen, I highly recommend running this at 100 constantly. Do not change this then. Please leave this at 100 and you should be good to go. All right, please go ahead and do that. Dynamic resolution, ladies and gentlemen, literally it states here what it does, but I don't really use this at all with my rig. You can go ahead and try this out with your machine, your specific machine. I don't recommend it. All right, then we get upscaling and sharpening, and I play with Fidelity FX Cache. Fidelity FX Cache is just overall the best upscaling in general. Now, not every single person out there is going to be using this option. No, they won't. I can't please every single person, and not every single person is using this upscaling. A lot of people are using the VDL with the video cards, and a lot of people are using, for instance, AMD FSR3 or AMD FSR1 with their AMD cards, or you can use both of these with your NVIDIA card as well, especially if you have a lower end NVIDIA graphics card in general. Now, AMD FSR3 is a very good upscaling overall, ladies and gentlemen. If you have this, let's say, at balance with your low-end machine, if you have a medium machine to a high-end machine, you can go to native. Then native will be your native resolution of the screen. So 1080p, 1440p to 4K, all the way up to that resolution, ladies and gentlemen. But what I would recommend if you're running a lower end machine in general, or you aren't getting the best performance out of your game, and you can see that your game is not running as you wanted to run, you wanted to run better, I would highly recommend running it either at quality for a decent looking game, or at balance, so it balance out the performance and the quality at the same time. Just do not put this at ultra performance, your game's going to look like absolute dog shit. Now, you get AMD FSR1 as well. You're going to have less settings inside here, but then I would highly recommend you use ultra quality. AMD FSR does not look that great, but if you want a really good performing game, like the FPS is up there, the game runs really smooth, go with ultra quality when it comes to AMD FSR1. Please go ahead and do that. You should be good to go. Now, instead of going to quality or balance or performance over here with your lower end machine, you can then rather go ahead and use, for instance, NVIDIA image scaling. If you have an NVIDIA card, ladies and gentlemen, come inside here and go over here and then go to quality over here, or balanced. So it balances the quality out and it balances the performance out. Or you can just go ahead and go to native and have your game run at native resolution. You should be good to go. Now, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is for lower end gaming graphics cards because it's for NVIDIA. Now, obviously, you also can go to Fidelity FX Cache, come inside here, have the sharpness at 75 or your own personal preference. This is a very good upscaling and it runs perfectly fine like this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are running, for instance, let's say NVIDIA DLSS with your NVIDIA card, please have this at least at quality. It makes the game look really, really good. Now, the reason why I say quality is because when you put this on balance or performance, while you are running, the right-hand side and the left-hand side of your screen is going to start to blur, and it's going to start to irritate you while you are running and stuff like that. Now, obviously, you don't stand fucking still in this game, so please go ahead and put this at quality for the overall best looking game and performance-wise as well, so the left and right-hand side of your screen doesn't blur as much as when you have it at balance or performance or ultra performance. Don't put it ultra performance, you're going to tear out your own fucking eyeballs. All right, then you get obviously NVIDIA DLAA. I know a lot of people don't really use this. I don't know a lot of people that actually use this at all. There's probably like 10% of the entire gaming community that uses this option, and I just don't like this option overall. I'll just skip over it. But if you are using it, you can go ahead and use it, and then use it at like 50% like this, and you should be good to go. All right, then you have this over here, the Intel upscaling. A lot of people also use this as well. Now, there's a lot of things inside you can choose. You can choose ultra performance if you are running a very low budget gaming graphics card in general. then I would highly recommend using this. But then don't use ultra performance. You're going to tear out your own eyes. Performance, you're going to tear out your own eyes. Rather go to balance, so it can balance out the performance and the gameplay itself, so how your game performs. Now, if you want a little bit better of a quality in your game, so your game looks really good, you go to ultra quality plus. Then your game will look really good and your performance overall will be as good as well. But something that's overall even better would be your native resolution. So like I said, 1080p, 1440p to 4K, please go to the native resolution and you should be fine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I highly recommend do not turn this off. There are people out there playing with this off, but I don't recommend it. I'm going to go back to my Fidelity FX cache because this is how I run my game, and I run my game perfectly fine with a setting like this, with my specific rig that I'm running, my 14700K and my 4070 Super, and my 32 gigs of RAM running at 6000 megahertz. This is how I run my game, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now NVIDIA DLSS frame generation, I highly don't recommend using any of these. This is AMD frame generation and NVIDIA frame generation. There's going to be people out there that's going to leave a comment down below letting me know, yo dude, I actually play with this on, like for instance NVIDIA version, and I use NVIDIA DLSS and my game runs perfectly fine. If you're one of those people and you're getting away with it, please leave a comment down below letting us know what rig you are running, what GPU, what CPU, what RAM, and then maybe there will be people watching this video as well that has the same components as you, and then they can try this out themselves as well. If it works for them, if it works for you, it might work for them as well, ladies and gentlemen. It really might work for them. So please leave a comment down below if you are using these over here. It isn't really a thing to be using in a multiplayer game. Overall, I don't recommend turning these on at all. I don't recommend turning this on. I really don't. Then the VRAM scale target, I highly recommend putting this at 80. No, ladies and gentlemen, no. Do not put this at 90 like this. Please, for the love of fuck, don't. Go to 80 like this on the highest end graphics cards out there. 80% is the highest you should go to on a high-end card. Then on a low-end card, I highly recommend you put this at 60 and leave it there, and you should be good to go. It's obviously showing you on the right-hand side, this is its target reach that it will go to, okay? Every time you change this, let's say 50, it will move. The target range will move over here. So 80 would be the best for higher end graphics cards with more VRAM, and then graphics cards that's lower end with less VRAM would be at 60 like this. So please go ahead. If you have a lower generation graphics card, go ahead and leave it at 60 and you should be good to go. I'm going to put mine back at 80 and leave it like this. Now, even if you have the best graphics card out there, 5090 or 4090 or whatever the case might be, or on the equivalent on AMD side, go ahead and leave it at 80. You want a 10% headroom. The reason why I'm saying you want that 10% headroom is because you want to change the things inside here with that 10% headroom. Now, variable rate shading. I highly recommend turning this on. This can actually make your game perform way better overall, from low-end machines to high-end machines, from low-end machines to medium machines to high-end machines. This could make your game run way better if you have this on. So I highly suggest leaving it on. All right. Then over here we get the details and textures. Now, I highly recommend you go ahead and rather change this to low. You do not need to have this at very low. You really don't. Your game's going to look like shit. Just leave it at low to normal. You do not need to push this to high, ladies and gentlemen. You really don't. I'm currently running mine at low right now. I can actually change it to normal with my graphics card and my machine that I'm currently running. Normal is perfectly fine, but overall, low is perfectly fine. There's a slight bit difference between normal and low, a slight bit of a difference over here. Ladies and gentlemen, if your machine can run it, then go to normal. If your machine can't run it, you're seeing that you are getting a lower FPS in general. If you put this at normal, go to low over here and your game will still look perfectly fine. Trust me on this, your game will still look perfectly fine, but I can run mine at normal just like this perfectly fine. Right, texture filter anisotropic ultra for all machines out there. Low end, medium end to high end, ultra over here when it comes to texture filter anisotropic. Please go ahead and do that. Depth of field, put this off. Who in their right mind plays with this? Turn this off. Detail quality, please go ahead and change this to actually to normal right now with the latest updates, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, normal, not low, not high, normal, just so your game can average the quality as well as the gameplay's performance, right? So in the middle, right? Please go ahead and do that. Particle resolutions very low because you can actually see the particle resolutions perfectly fine while this is on very low. You do not need to push this to any other setting. Leave it at very low. It's exactly much the same. There's not a lot of visual difference. Yeah, I mean, you do not need to see much more of this debris and stuff like that while you are playing a game where you don't need to see this, unless you were playing a single player game, but you aren't. So I highly recommend just leaving it low and you should be good to go. Bullet impacts, turn this on. Effects, turn it off, because while the effects are turned off over here, the effects are still on in the game. Shader quality, you do not need to push this at high. My game actually just went to go and put this at high for some reason. It automatically went to go and do it, so I'm going to put it back to low. You can go to medium if you have a decent enough machine, ladies and gentlemen, and a decent enough graphics card. But what I would recommend in general for competitive gameplay and a smoother gameplay experience, leave this at low. Alright, on-demand texture streaming, I've mine it optimized. This is on the fly downloading the texture resolutions to your drive. Please bear in mind that you do need a really good fiber optic connection and enough space on your machine to have this option selected. Now, there's no point in this if you have a very low-end machine. If you have a very low-end machine, just go overall to minimal and you should be good to go. Alright, then we get this over here where it says local texture streaming quality. Please go ahead and put this at normal right now, not low, at normal. The game actually feels a slight bit better with local texture streaming quality at normal right now at this very moment with the latest update. We get the shadow and lighting over here. It plays a huge role on the game's performance and how your game's going to look as well, but we're not really caring about how the game looks at this very moment. If you do, you can go ahead and change these things to higher settings than what I'm about to show you, but shadow and lighting has a lot of impact on FPS and the performance in the gameplay itself. There is not much visual difference when it comes to the shadow quality. There will be a slight bit of pixels happening on the shadows of people that you can see above you on a building or something like that. There will be a little bit of pixels happening, but if you don't care about that, then go to very low. If you do care about that and you want your shadows to look perfect and you want to, let's just make an example, some guy's above you in a building and you see shadow of his gun or you see the shadow of him and his shadow just looks all like block-like or pixelated and you don't like that, go to normal here and you'll be good to go. Alright, if you don't care about that and you want that more FPS boost, go to very low, you should be good to go. Alright, screen space shadows, please go ahead and turn this off. Please, for the love of fuck, turn it off. Screen space lighting, off, always off, leave it the fuck off, and done. Screen space reflections, off, and done. You do not need to see that. Leave it like this. You do not need to see that. You really don't. Especially with this fucked up game. With this game that's so fucking unoptimized, broken, crack smoking company. Leave it the fuck off. Static reflection quality, Optimus Prime, yet again, is not going to stand up. If you put this at high, leave this at low, and you should be good to go. The environment plays a very big role on this game, ladies and gentlemen. Tessellation, all, for every single rig out there. Doesn't matter what machine you are running. It can be low-end, medium-end, to a high-end machine. All, always. Leave this at all right now with the latest update with Season 3. Leave it at all. Volumetric quality at low. Then your physics quality off, because you can still see the physics while it's off inside here. Weather grid volumes, you do not care about the weather in the fucking game. Who does? Who does? I don't think anyone does. But if you do, then you can go ahead and go to normal here. You should be fine. But in general, turn it the fuck off. Water quality, turn it the fuck off. Then apply these settings and you should be good to go. You're going to confirm this and you're going to come to the view tab over here. World motion blur, ladies and gentlemen, this is how it's going to look with world motion blur on, and that's how it's going to look with world motion blur off. I highly recommend turning it off because on looks like absolute dog shit, and obviously you don't want this happening while you are playing the game because there might be a guy standing there shooting you in your face and you won't be able to see him. Right, weapon motion blur, if you're a fan of this, you can go ahead and turn it on. I don't think anyone is a fan of this if you're playing this game competitively. In general, when you're playing this game, turn it off. You don't want your gun to blur. You would rather want to see this constantly than having your gun look like this. Right, then you have this over here, which is inverted flash. I highly recommend taking advantage of this so your screen's flashbangs, when someone throws a flash or your flash, it will look like this instead of that. Especially at night, it will look like a flashbang came through your screen, landed on your table, and flashbanged you. Please, for the love of fuck, take advantage of this. You do not need to turn it on, but take advantage of it and try it out. Then you're going to come over here where it says interface and come inside here. Then we're going to go to these over here where it says telemetry. Telemetry plays a very big role on your game itself, ladies and gentlemen, just in general, to see the performance of your game. I'm using MSI Afterburner with my NVIDIA card to see what I'm doing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't changed anything. As I'm recording this video, I'm not using my MSI Afterburner to make my fan speeds a little bit better, which I normally put at 90%. So as you can see there, I'm doing about 48 degrees over there. So if I press my Windows key right now and I go over here. So I'm just going to do this over here. As you can see, this is my MSI Afterburner. I'm running this like this at this current moment. As you can see, there's the new driver, and then I'm running at 60. Now, I'm not playing the game. I'm just showing you guys the settings. But if I go to 2 and apply it, and I'm just going to move this to my other screen again, and then go back into Call of Duty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I'm back in the game right now, and I'm doing less degrees on my GPU because I went to go ahead and change my fan curve to 90%. While I was recording this video in general, since I started this recording, I did not apply my settings while I'm playing the game, because I'm currently not playing the game, I'm just showing you the settings. But ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very important to have stuff on, like your fans running perfectly fine and stuff like that, so you don't get something like a thermal throttling with your GPU and your CPU and all that. Please go ahead and make sure those things are running perfectly fine. Telemetry, ladies and gentlemen, please put it all on if you don't have MSI Afterburner like me. Here at the top left, you can now actually see what you're doing with your rig. People with AMD cars might have Adrenaline running, and it might be running over here on this side or wherever on their screen. That's on an AMD side. Now, if you don't want any of those running, let's say MSI Afterburner or Radeon software, whatever the case might be, you just want to see the game stuff, put Telemetry on all on, and you should be good to go. Right, now you're going to come over here and go to color customization and come inside here. You're going to have you as your personal color, your team at the same color. Please have whatever color you want to select here for your team selected. Make sure that your party is the exact same color as well. Go to enemy and go to custom color. Then you can customize your own color for your enemy and put it to whatever color you would like it to be. Mine is magenta pink, always been magenta pink, and probably will always be magenta pink. Nothing in this game on the map is magenta pink except the guns and the skins of enemies. Alright, that's about it. Nothing on the map itself is pink. So that's why I choose this color, magenta pink. All right, but it's your own personal preference of what color you're going to choose here. Then you have these over here. It's perfectly fine over here. Then you have color filter. Color filter 2 is the best option in general, in my opinion, and it's always been my opinion, is filter 2. Ever since Call of Duty came out with the filters, filter 2 is the best. Have this at both, not world, not interface, both, 100%, 100%, and you should be good to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump straight into the most important step you're going to need to do for these settings to apply to your game and for you to have a smooth gameplay experience. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to smash that like button and leave a comment down below and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new here. All right, let's jump straight over to the most important step that you're going to need to take is this right here. Alright, so you're going to come into your display tab like this, and you're going to come to Restart Shader Preloading. Select this and go to Restart. You're going to press Escape, 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 and click on Quit to Desktop. You're going to quit to Desktop, ladies and gentlemen, and then relaunch your game. Now, it doesn't matter if you're playing it through the Xbox Game Pass, or let's say Battle.net or Steam. Just relaunch your game, and at the top left corner in this white here where this telemetry is, in the white, it's going to install your shaders. It's going to reinstall your shaders to apply the settings you just changed right now to your game. Then jump into a game. If your game feels way better, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new here. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just here to help as best I can with the latest updates, and I always try and keep you guys up to date with the latest settings for you guys out there. As always, hope this helped you, and peace out.